It's not appropriate for me to start this off with a peace greeting, so I'm not going to, but I am going to start off with gratitude for those who are most recently donated on Cash App. I want to give shouts out to Armando again, Passport OG, Nana SW, Sir Anthony, and K Freeman. These are the most recent donors. Thank you from the bottom of my black heart and from the depths of my black mind. I mean that. I mean that. So I'm going to tell you knuckleheads right quick. No, I'm joking. Y'all ain't knuckleheads. But I'm going to tell y'all that this being part two, this is the reason why it's not going to be appropriate for me to start off with the peace greeting. It's part two of my last upload about why it is that the Sapphires deserve less. And I saved some stuff for this. But first, what I want to do is, there's something I saved up for this part two. And here's the funny thing. While I was waiting, other stuff popped up to add to this. And you Sapphires, I'm going to address you in this one too, again. Because I'm telling you why you deserve less. One of the ways that you prove you deserve less is the way that many of you react to Celebrity podcast Daphne Ford Sutton. Now, some would say, well, what if she was holding men accountable, Black Mind? What would you say? Well, what I would say is that there are times she does, I'm sure, but the men already get held accountable. She's already answered that. The men are held accountable. So I don't say too much about that because the men are held accountable. If she does hold a guy accountable, it's rare, and she wouldn't do it for no reason. So I don't have to say too much about it. But we're seeing that the ladies get let off in the N19 community. We see that the women get let off all the time. All the time. And what's the reason? Because it simply put, as long as it hurts men, it's okay. Hell, it's even praiseworthy. Now, that element of the culture right there is enough to make the women that uphold it deserve less. Galen Knight backs her up. I know they call Galen Knight a pick-me. Galen Knight was one of those that exposed that Rhoda Osman had a previous GoFundMe. She was just less viral. She exposed that. Well, she was one that did. Shouts out to her for that. And I know they're going to go after Galen Knight, call her all kinds of pick-me's and B-words and everything else. I get it. That ain't all. Goes deeper. Keeps going. This rabbit hole goes way down. You know, yesterday I was teaching my students, and since yesterday was one of those days where it's not even logical to go too deep into the lesson because a lot of students were out. It's not only a Thursday, but it's a Thursday before a long holiday weekend. I realized that it would be best for me to do a little bit of English, but mostly to focus on something else, and that was this. I told some of them were asking me stuff about life in the States, and they asked me, like, did I see drive-bys and things like that? And one guy asked me, did they hold a gun sideways? And I said to him, you know, I knew guys that did it. We saw it on TV. I knew that there was some guys who did that, but I don't know those men per se. I've been around shootings. I've left clubs and movie theaters and stuff like that, and somebody starts shooting. And I've seen shootings and fights over stupid stuff like I've seen two girls fight at a club. One swung a bottle at the other, but the other one, she had one of those super gel hard hairdos. It was her hair. It was short. But that's how her hair was so hard with the gel. She just ducked her head. The bottle smashed on her head, and she picked her head back up and started beating the snot out the girl that swung the bottle at her. She didn't get a scalp cut or nothing. Whooped her behind. Bang, 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 bang. Just tore her butt up. I said, yeah, I've been where they shoot. I remember that. Gulf Coast, 1990s. Club lets out, people in the parking lot. Dudes trying their last to try to impress some barely heterosexual B-word. So somebody starts playing some music real loud or starts shooting in the air or something. And it's like that, man. And after a while, I just get up and I said to the students, listen, now you all are asking questions and laughing like this stuff is funny. So let me show you all what happened. I went to Google Earth and I showed them my neighborhood. I showed them where I grew up. I showed them the house. I showed them the houses of my friends and associates and colleagues and acquaintances from the same neighborhood. I said, this is a real nice guy's home here. I showed them Brick's house. I said, Brick, he recently lost his brother. His brother died maybe of an illness. I'm still waiting to find out what the hell it was, but his brother's gone. But before that, years ago, his brother had to do time. Look at the house in which they grew up, but his brother had to do time. Brick had to do time. Brick wasn't even no bad dude, but he had to go to a prison for violent offenders. He was in college at the time. I think he looked at it and said, you know what, I need some money to do X, Y, and Z, and I don't feel like asking nobody about it for it. So he did an armed robbery. Somewhere he got a pistol. I don't even think the pistol was loaded. He went in, pulled off the armed robbery. He got busted. I mean, he was too distinct to escape detection anyway. And they looked at the house and they said, wait a minute, what does Dad do for a living? And I told them, I don't know everything his dad did, but I know in his old age, Dad was a substitute teacher. And he had a pension from some other job, I'm sure. And they looked and said, so why did he do this? And I told them, Dad worked hard to succeed. But their kinfolks still lived in the ghetto. They were born in that ghetto and grew up their early childhood years in that ghetto. Then Dad made enough money and got into this neighborhood. He was one of the few that made it. But I think their cousin said to them, well, you soft and you this, that, and the other. And I think that's what happened. I told them, see, here's the thing. Amongst our people, when you do make it and your parents' sacrifices have paid off and you get into a nice neighborhood, if your family members didn't, they start acting like you soft, and that starts at a young age. That's what happens. So he fell for it. At some point, he was a nice guy. He didn't bully nobody. He wasn't carrying guns to shoot nobody, nothing like that. He actually taught us in the neighborhood, if you got bullied, he taught you how to defend yourself while he defended you from the bully. He said, man, I'll whoop that dude behind if he goes and messing with you. And he gives you tips on boxing and self-defense and stuff. He taught me stuff. One of the reasons I didn't lose them last 3 fights I had. It's mostly him. But guess what, though? Brick was something. Brick still messed around and got that charge. And he turned his life around after that. But you know what? Now it's his son. Now his son goes to the county jail, and I think might have been at the big house. His son has celebrated birthdays locked up in county. On some shum did. On some stupid shit. That ain't all. I showed them KT's house. Told them KT died when we were in high school. I'm about to finish high school. KT was either working or he was in college. He graduated high school. He died not even in our home city. He died in New Orleans during Mardi Gras. He went down there, bumped into somebody. They got to talking stuff, and he got shot. He's still buried in our hometown, though. I said, he been gone. He was one of the first ones to actually die behind some foolishness. He didn't grow up in the ghetto. He'd been in our neighborhood pretty much his whole life. His sister later on turned to drugs trying to cope with the pain of losing him. She got shot one day on our street. And later, I heard later she actually got shot to death. Her parents had to kick her out. So the parents lost the son, then they lost her. Because he won't be street. Because he didn't want to be no good boy. That was too corny for him. I showed them other homes. I showed them one of the homes of the ladies in the neighborhood, down the street from where I grew up. I showed them. Some of my audience members remember when I talked about a particular girl grew up behind the guy that looked like Will Smith, Fresh Prince. He had a crush on her all day childhood. She married a dentist out of New Orleans. Cheated on him, finally decided to give the Fresh Prince some. And she had to have told him that they were going to divorce or something like that, or that they weren't staying together. She had to have told him that. Nonetheless, he's still stupid for taking that deal. And that her first child was not with her husband, but with her boyfriend on the side. She didn't even stay with the boyfriend long enough because he didn't make enough money at that time. Later on, he went to making, he does okay now. Not too badly. But you see where this is going. You understand what this is about. And in all honesty, man, really, I told them all the dirt, told the students. I said to them, if you think that this life you see on TV and these Hollywood movies is cool, you got to understand where it leads to, where it ends. You think drinking's fine. Where you going to draw the line? Because you got to understand, if you do live that life, even if you know where to draw the line, somebody around you does not know where to draw the line, and they will not draw it. And they won't stop at that point. There's always someone that's going to take things to the next level. And here, even in this nice neighborhood, the effects of that next level again and again and again are inside of the homes. Oh yeah, the streets are quiet. But inside the homes, you see all the dysfunction. Ain't no pretending like this baby belonged to the husband, because no. It just ain't no pretending. So in a nutshell, I had to tell them that the corruption is in both of the genders. But one of the things I said to them early on is this. I said to them, these guys wound up doing stuff that got them into prison. And the reasons why they went were because nobody wanted to be corny in front of the girls. That's really what it came down to in the end. So you look and say, well, why would the girls from this neighborhood want guys that acted like they were from poor neighborhoods? Doesn't matter why. They did, and the men followed. Now, these men in my neighborhood and in others had to pay the price for their stupid mistakes. That's true, they did. So do I say that they were okay for making these decisions? No. They did have a very strong motive. That's very true. But they paid for their part. They didn't get away with it. The women did. And the women collectively, girls first, then women collectively, decided that these men were going to be shut out. They were reproductively boycotted unless they imitated the worst stereotypes our enemies have of our people. I didn't get to fully explain to them the role that the sisters played in this. That's the lesson for when we go back next week after the end of this weekend. But there's more. Oh, we ain't done. I was saving up one particular point to talk about in this one. And while I was waiting on that, figured I'd finish the work week, then do this part 2. And while I was waiting on that, certain things surfaced. Why did Jeezy file for divorce from Jeannie Mai? Okay, we can speculate all day. Let's just look at what she said. Number 1, she has a temper. Number 2, she brought her mom and her brother in to live with them. What? Excuse me, what? So did she live with them while they were dating? Because that is a problem. That's an issue. She brought mom and brother to live with them. She said that. It's not only that. But that's the start. That's what she said. So let's take a look at that. Has a temper problem. And what I was going to point out is that the influence of feminism and misandry in the West is so bad that a woman can actually have good intentions to get rid of that or to counteract that and still fail. That's what it sounds like Jeannie Mai's problem is. She grew up with it. She was steeped in it. She stood no chance from jump because her mom's like that while coming from a culture that isn't. But then she was raised in the context of a land that is like that. So she had this reinforcement from mama inside the house and from the Western hyenas, white, black, or anything else outside the house. Now she's trying, in her late 30s, she decided she was going to try to get rid of that. What? Word? That's what happens. She was going to try to get rid of it, and she still failed to the point that that man said, shuck that fit. See, Jeezy knows that Nick Hilcher is dysfunctional. He was not going to allow this in somebody else, no matter what their origin is. She didn't get rid of that stuff soon enough. So he said, this can't be reconciled. We can't go back. That's not all. This goes deeper. This keeps on going. It doesn't stop. Let's look at what else is happening here. That's the residual effect. Jeannie Mai does not come from a people that walk out in front of all of the other women and champion this stuff. You, Sapphire, actually walk out in front. You got the same attitude. You don't want to fix it like Jeannie Mai is trying to do. You walk out in front of all the other women of the West and brag about how what they're learning and doing as a reaction is actually you from the core. You boast about this. You only socially approve of each other for being difficult to these men. You go beyond even Jeannie Mai. Because you look down on any sister, especially if they're nice to look at, for trying to get rid of that dragon that Jeannie Mai said she needed to learn to get rid of and admit it. So Jeannie Mai felt no shame in admitting that she was trying to change that. You feel shame in admitting that when you were young. I think Jeannie Mai learned it too late. That's still a problem. The age was still going to be an issue. But she wasn't ashamed. As you know, Jeannie Mai doesn't look her age. She wasn't ashamed. If you look that good at that age, and a lot of you do, which is how I know, you will never admit to knowing that this is wrong and making the change. You wait until you cannot conceive anymore. Some of you wait until you develop another problem, like you realize that you got tooth decay and your breath gonna stink all the time. And then you decide to make that change. Or you find out you got an STI. You ain't gonna tell everybody, but you finally decide you're gonna make a change because you're gonna compensate. You wait till you have something so bad you gotta compensate for it. That's what I mean. You actually know. When you are young, you actually kind of think ahead at times. Well, you know what? When I get older, if something changes about me, then I will change how I behave so as to compensate. But there's no dot-gam walking fay that I'm going to be young and attractive right now and cute and not have something seriously wrong and just have a good attitude. If I look like having a good attitude. Maybe I should have titled this one, The If I Look Like, Why You Deserve Less. Because you actually think that you're stupid or some kind of fool or that you look bad for having a nice, pleasant attitude when you're also nice looking and young. And when you find a guy like me that actually prefers closer to my age and you're nice looking, you still maintain that the F I look like having a nice attitude with this dude over here because my age don't matter. So it ain't something to compensate for in his eyes, so I don't need to. So let me go back to having that bad attitude I always had. It's easier anyway. Then you lose someone like me. That's not all. That's not even what I saved to talk about this. It leads to it, but it's not what I saved. And as a matter of fact, before I even get to that, I'm going to tell you about the double standard. The double standard is a major problem. Tia Mowry says she graduated, outgrew her husband. You start talking about how Corey Hardwick cheated, even though there's no evidence that Corey Hardwick cheated. Corey Hardwick, that we know of, didn't cheat. I don't know if Tia Mowry cheated or not. We don't know. No evidence there either that she cheated, to be fair. But that actually means that without even having another man lined up, she made a decision. That's what that means. Not even having another man lined up. I'm just going to jump out here and replace him. How the hell you going to replace that man? He gave you a chance to not screw things up and you said, nope, we're over. Bye. We're going our separate ways. I just outgrew it. Now look at you. Sipping wine. Sitting at your nice table, sipping wine with a camera aim, talking about how bad the dating pool is. But you didn't have to go back into it. You just chose to. And for what? Because though Corey Hardwick made money, you made more. Is that it? Or because he made less than you in the beginning, and if he did catch up, it was too late? Or is it because his nose was wide and his hair was forced? You know what? I don't even care anymore. Whatever the hell the reason was too dumb, because that man did not do you no wrong. But that goes to show you something, gentlemen. Women don't value your monogamy. At all. As a matter of fact, they only value your monogamy if they had to take your attention away from other women. If they don't perceive that there's competition for you, they actually deride your monogamy. They think you're wrong for sitting up and even calling yourself monogamous. They think you're a hypocrite, like, oh, he's delusional. They just don't want to cheat with him. But then if you actually said, well, nobody's really trying to cheat with me anyway. Even if you were honest about it and said no one's really trying, they're not even making that effort. Not that I would take them up on it. Even if you said that, you know what? Then they say, well, he has no self-esteem. You could just be simply admitting that people aren't trying to get you to cheat. No self-esteem needed. You just state it as a fact because it's what you observed. And then she starts reading into that too. You can't win. And Sapphire, you may not realize how far gone you are, but that's how bad you are. You're so hyper scrutinous that you interpret everything from most black men as being the worst possible interpretation you can make. Out of the 4 or 5 ways you can interpret anything, you never give the benefit of the doubt. You go straight to the worst possible thing it could mean. and interpret it that way. And you actually are teaching this to other Western women. That is one of the things you are teaching to other Western women. I don't know. I don't really think, actually, that when it comes to that particular thing, that other Western women started off like that and you learned from them. That's one thing I don't think you picked up from Becky or anybody else. I believe you're teaching that to Becky. And now Becky's got to deal with that. She's picked it up. Now Becky's got to, now she can't stop thinking that way about her own man. The funny thing is, Becky will turn around and not do that with us. Just like you don't do that to wide men. Becky gets a brother and she don't make necessarily the worst assumptions. And one of the things that upsets you even more is that while sometimes you might cheat on a brother with a Brad like Robin Givens did with Brad Pitt before he was even the Brad Pitt we know. Yeah, ask Mike Tyson about that. He's Mike Tyson. Brad Pitt don't want no parts of no Mike Tyson. Brad Pitt would not want to fight Mike Tyson. And who would blame him? Nobody wants Mike Tyson throwing one punch at them. No one does. Robin Givens was married to Mike Tyson and he said she was cheating with Brad Pitt. Now, why would he make that up? And he said this was before Brad Pitt was somebody we knew. So stop and think about that. Brad Pitt didn't have to be none of what Mike Tyson was professionally. And Brad Pitt got to be the cuckolding bull. And while sisters are doing that, they're actually kind of mad because they know that the same thing might be happening with brothers. Here's the thing. You don't necessarily have a genre of these filthy movies where it's a Wyatt cuckolding a black husband. That's not a genre. You have a genre. Shouts out to Young Grizzly and Edward Allen Anderson for pointing this out. You got a genre of this in which you got these black so-called bulls helping their wives cuckold the husbands. And in real life, you got some of these wide wives that are sitting up and saying to their husbands, I'm going to get over here and smash these shines. Not like, that's not my term anymore, but they're sitting up and saying, I'm going to smash him and you're going to stand in the corner and watch. What? I mean, apparently that's a genre. But the fact is, honestly, Sapphire, you were mad because that actually wound up working both ways. You feel like it shouldn't even work both ways. Okay, and that's what's going to lead me now to what I was saving up for this. BGS did, shout out to him, a live stream entitled, well, the title was asking the question, do black women get bored with marriage? In that live stream, he covered somebody else's interview of an ex-wife that was 320 pounds when she met and then later married her husband, lost 130, which means she was still at 190 if my memory is correct about the numbers. Either way, she was still big when she lost the weight, but she decided she was going to cheat on the husband. Now, she pretty much said the husband, though he doted on her, loved her, everything else, cherished her, supported her. Though he did this, she said she never felt attractive. Do you know what the hell that means? Gentlemen in the audience. Sapphire, you know what the hell that means. You just don't want me to say it. But I'm going to tell these brothers in the audience what that means anyway. That means that man was not attractive enough to her to convince her that she was attractive. That's what the hell that means. That means she settled for that man from the very mother cuss word beginning. Even though he loved her in such a way that shows that he did not settle for her, she still settled for him. And so she just simply said, I'm going to replace him. And she learned. She sat up and said the dating pool has more than pee in it is sewage. She said something to that effect. No. She set herself up for that from jump. That was the very way she set it up from the very beginning. And when that man set up and asked her, the interviewer said, did he spend money on you? She said, well, not enough. Excuse me, not enough. The hell you mean not enough? And she started talking about what bags she didn't see. Like Birkin bags and Gucci bags. She said, I don't have nothing I can look at right now and say I got this side of the deal. What, that's why you was with him? That's why you was with him? I mean, you had a house and a baby and all this other stuff with the husband, but you won't look at the relationship you had on the side, the adulterous relationship you had on the side, and talk about the purses and bags that you didn't get. So that means that if he had done that, you'd have felt this was justified. That's what that means. Sapphire, I want you to understand that that woman that did this represents you. And she doesn't, I know she's one woman. She did the interview. But understand this, I already know this psychology exists because I have seen this psychology in you all the way from the time I was 12 up until the time I left the United States in 2014. And I was 12. I won't say exactly when, but in between the late 80s and early 90s is when I was 12. You get it now. That tells you something. From that point on, that's been the attitude that I've seen from you collectively. She just sat up and said it because social media has so many of them making confessions that the bar for secrecy is now lowered between you all. Your conspiracy is un-effing raveling right in front of us because with social media, many of you, to which you all are addicted, many of you don't have anything of substance, so you might as well just confess. Oh yeah, this is how you think. Collectively, she just said it. I was fat and I got passed over, but I found a man that loved me. But I wasn't sure that he really loved me anyway, because look at him. So maybe he was just inferior. So I lost the weight to see if any other man could love me, and I thought this other man loved me. Even though I was still fat. That is everything. That's all there was. That's how most of you think. You actually judge who you are and how you should behave by how you look. And since you have decided to link your behavior to your looks, you then project that onto us and you start saying that you can tell how a black man is by how he looks. Not by what he chooses to wear or design himself with in the way of tattoos or jewelry or any other accessories. No, but his phenotype that is involuntary, you then start to link to his behavior. Ask me how I know that. Matter of fact, 2 years ago today, I posted about this. I posted about why MLS men, mixed and light-skinned black men, have to actually behave in certain ways differently when it comes to women. Not so much with dudes, but we have to behave differently when it comes to women because women treat us differently. So you raise your hand like you gonna slap your MLS boyfriend or friend. And if you do that, he's more likely to have some sort of pre-taught, pre-trained reflex to actually defend himself is if you're seriously going to hit him, because in his experience, he is more likely to seriously get hit by women. No study is needed on that. I already know from experience. Sisters are more likely, if everything else is equal, sisters are more likely to strike MLS men than they are men with a higher melanin count. I still have that reflex today. My wife and I could be joking, but if she raises her hand like she's going to slap, the next thing I know, I have restrained her arms. I have not hurt her, but the next thing that happens without my awareness or decision is that I have restrained her arms. I'm just one of many. I'm not short or skinny or crippled in any way, form, or fashion that would convey to a woman that I'm an easy target to hit. I'm just ambiguous looking, and I'm beyond the ambiguity threshold for most parts of the United States. And I learned that I was more likely to get hit by sisters than other brothers. Well, I didn't know what the reason was at first. It took me a while. Then in 2001, when my colleague told me what she said, that explained a lot. I didn't even have time to say, well, look, I've actually been hit by sisters. Am I more likely to get hit? Everything else she told me pretty much answered that question. Yes. Yes, black, you're more likely to get hit than other black men are, because we don't see you as a strong black man, even though you're not a pushover or a wimp or anything else. Yeah, it's like that. That's how you judge men, because you judge your own behaviors that way. You choose your own behaviors this way. So then you project this on to black men. And from a first glance, you've made so many value judgments about any particular man. And that's just part of the culture. So you yourself don't even give yourself time to actually get to know any man, unless, of course, maybe if he's not black. Maybe not even then, actually. But you stereotype men in general, especially black men, but you stereotype men in general. Everyone knows this. And because you stereotype black men by looks, you then don't allow yourself to actually get to know black men. So what does that do to you? What does that mean for you? That means that you no longer deserve the same things that other women deserve if they're willing to actually give themselves a chance to get to know these men and give the men a chance to get to know them. You have forfeited already an equal result or outcome just based on that alone. On top of the fact that, like this woman here, most of you say, well, let me look at myself and determine how I'm going to act. Okay, now that I look better at this late age than I did when I was younger, I'm finna wild the uck out and cheat on this man that loved me or seemed to love me. Because him loving me don't mean nothing no way. Now, why would one man's love for you mean nothing and another man's love for you mean something? She valued one man's lust over her husband's love. What the hell does that tell you? I already told you I know her psychology is typical. She just put it in words. I've witnessed this multiple times, and I'm not even yet 50. BGS has witnessed this many more times than I have, and he sees this link. Don Calypso has seen this in ADOS women and can compare and contrast this to other nationalities of black women. So let's see what the cuss word this is about. She right there is the one I did not mention in part 1, because that interview was so mother cuss word telling that I can sit up here and say to you that to fully understand, to fully grasp the entire reason that sisters in the West and the Anglophone Caribbean deserve less, even than other Western women who themselves are really bad and don't deserve much. All you have to do to understand that really is go listen to that interview. And then if you want more understanding, go listen to BGS on that live stream in which he broke it down. he and his panel. And then understand that her mindset was actually the normal mindset for most Western sisters. And a growing number of sisters on the continent too. Yeah. And that's not all. To make matters worse, she sat up there and said, I would have been devastated if he had cheated on me. I can cheat, but you can't. And problem? She became the stereotypical bitch. And I would have said the other B word. That's not even a cuss word. I'll give you a hint. My first name. I would have said that along with the other B word. But I wouldn't want to be mistaken for being racist against my own kind. And I wouldn't want YouTube flagging this video. But I'm going to put this on Odyssey too anyway, inshallah. I wanted you all to know and understand that. She became the stereotypical hyena sister bitch when she said that. And problem, she might as well have rolled her neck and snapped her fingers. She still feels like that. If I cheat, so what? But you better not, because she sees black men as her property, and more so if they actually aren't the knuckle-dragging stereotypes. You know, the buck Negro everybody else wants to screw. She sees him as even being more so her property. Like, why would you even think you can or that you qualify? See, this is what I'm saying to you, and to her, and to Tia, and all these other divorcees and single moms that are talking about the dating pool and the pee and the sewage that is in the dating pool. Let me explain something to you. The dating pool more than likely is full of pee and sewage. I understand that. But you are the ones taking the dump and pissing in it from the very beginning. You sent the message to each other. Most of you were raised and socialized from the time you were young to dump your waste into the dating pool because that's what you were supposed to do, because that's what them men deserve. And you're just too good for that. Then you go back into it and you wonder why the hell that's your pee and your dump you took in that pool. You did that. It's not ours, it's yours. You made that choice. You can sit up and talk about what these men are doing, and that's what you meant by the pee and the sewage. I know, but who told these men to do that? Who trained them? You have pretty much rewarded the kinds of behaviors you cannot stand, and you have taught men, black and non-black alike. You have taught men that if they do love and cherish you, they will regret it. But if they treat you like cum buckets, at least they won't regret that. And you actually, that training to do that, you have not only followed, but you have even spread to the point that a poll taken, I think it was in the US, a poll taken showed that 63% of Muslim women actually support the alphabet agenda, but they can't. We don't even need a study to know that they can't stand polygyny. That does not require a study. You ask any Muslim man in most of these countries, but especially in Western countries, how Muslim women feel about polygyny, they'll tell you. If you as a man are saying up front that you may practice it, you will actually go single longer. Yeah. All of them know this. We all know and understand this. You might be single for longer because of that. Not might. No, you are guaranteed. Almost all Muslimas are against polygyny. Now, they may not say that it's wrong and it's outlawed in the religion. They generally don't go so far as to say it's against the religion, but they pretty much all say, I ain't going to go for it. Absolutely not. You know what else, though? And this gets bad. They're sitting up here, 63% are sitting up here and having some kind of support for the the alphabet community. Now, I know that the alphabet community is different from the alphabet agenda. A lot of them are not politically pushing for certain things. I know that. I'm aware of that distinction. I don't know how many people in the alphabet community are aware of that distinction. I'm not sure. But do you think that the average person in the States, period, let alone specifically Muslim women born and raised in the States or any other Western country, are really consciously thinking about the distinction between the alphabet community and the alphabet agenda? You think they're thinking about that when they answered the questions in the poll? They weren't. So that means that they were for both. So it's okay to do that for which Allah picked up 2 neighboring towns and smashed them back down into the ground upside down. It's okay to do that. But if a man has 2 wives, because usually polygyny in Islam stabilizes at 2 wives as an average. But because man has 2 wives and therefore one wife does not become the sole provider of his halal sexual satisfaction, thereby giving her disproportionate control to her intellect. Now all of us, because he might actually be even more satisfied below the belt, damn it, that's wrong. And it's time to leave. Man, fit the guck out my face with that sure bit. And you wonder why men are sitting up here when you do go back in the dating pool and they're looking you in the face and saying, it is smash or dash or nothing. I will not commit to you. That won't happen. You wonder why they're doing that. You done already punished that. Ask Big Mama ex-wife that was on that interview to which I'm referring now. Ask her about that. What did she do? She punished the committed man and rewarded an uncommitted man. That's what the F she did. One man pays for another man to play. And then she wants to sit up here and even lie during that interview. As brutally honest as she was, she still lied during the interview. Well, I mean, he found out because I confessed. Now, what does she mean she found out? He found out because she confessed. Later, she sits up and says he found out by going through her phone, but she left her phone unlocked. So when she says she confessed, she means, well, I let it lie around because she already said it was eating up her conscience. So she was going against her own conscience to screw somebody else. Oh, that's not all. That's not. You want me to drive some more nails in? Hey, check this out, y'all. There's more, and you guys need to hear this. You and my audience and Sapphire. The man asked her in the interview, and this is most of you, Sapphires, by the way, most of you. Most of you are exactly like not only her in these other ways, but you're exactly like her in this way. Most of you. If not, it's so much that many men will actually firmly believe it is all of you with no exceptions, because the exceptions are so rare, many of us will never meet them. So what I say to you is, go ahead, date and marry out. Please hurry up and do that. You've been threatening to do it. Please hurry the F up and date and marry out en masse like you say black men are doing, even though we're not, because this way everybody can find out what the F the real deal is. Firsthand, not second. Now, the mic drop is after this. The interviewer asked her an important question, and I'm glad he did. Could your husband have married the woman that lost the 130 pounds? Pretty much that man was saying, if you hadn't been that fat when he met you, would you have married him? That's really what he was asking. And she answered that question the way he asked and the way he meant. She answered that. And her answer was, I don't think he could have. I mean, I was pretty amazing, so I'm pretty sure he would have wanted to, but I don't think he could have actually done it. Oh, damn. She's saying she settled for him. And she's, as I stated already, is in fact typical. I don't need a study to know that she is in fact typical for Western sisters, including Anglophone Caribbean sisters. She's typical. So what the F does that mean? Everybody that sees the video knows she deserves less, and she pretty much admitted it. What the hell does that mean for you? When not only are you like her on average, but on top of being like her on average, you're willing to lie and gaslight even your own sons about yourself and other women in general, just so that you can keep doing this, and so that the next generation of women can keep doing this, and the next generation can keep doing this, even at the expense of your own male relatives. You don't even have the decency to admit this stuff like she did. She didn't say anything that would help this sort of thing to continue to keep on going under the radar, uncovered and untalked about and unexposed. She did not stoop to that level. You've been stooping to that level for generations now. And when your sons figure it out, you put on an act and you do everything except take accountability and reform. I already talked about Kirk Franklin, how his mom handled that. Already did. What the hell else you think his mother's hiding? She's hiding how the hell you all are. That's the other thing that she's hiding. She's not just hiding how she is. She's hiding how sisters are in the West. She doesn't want Kirk to realize that, and that's her own son. She wants him in the dark about women in general. She doesn't want Kirk Franklin to know why he should get a passport. We'll talk more about this stuff later on. I've almost gone into an hour on this one. And I want to say to my regular normal audience, thank you so much for being patient. But it's important that we do one of the things that Edward Allen Anderson said, and that is, I mean, now that we understand this, especially in light of that interview and these new divorces popping up and what they're about and what we don't know about what they're about, but what we do know about what they're about. It's important that we sit up and start saying to these sisters, listen, shut the F up about us and just date and marry out. You said these other men are better. Go get them. We ain't stopping you. You'll be quick to talk about how we couldn't stop you if you wanted to. We ain't trying to stop you. We don't want to stop you. Furry the huck up and get you that non-black man and take those photographs and those pics and put them on IG. Hurry up. Or Twitter, or Snapchat, Insta, wherever. Facebook. Hurry the F up. Or as I say to my students when they're really slow, furry the huck up. Go on ahead. We need to start telling them that. Hurry up and get you this other kind of man from this other background so that you can quickly tell them and even show them how great you are and on what they've been missing out because you just didn't go after them and pursue them sooner. Go ahead. See if you can convince them that the problem was always us and never you. Go ahead. Give it a shot. You're trying, but see if you can do that. You convince them much better by showing them than you will by sitting up on TV and telling them. Go ahead. Stop getting into their living rooms through the TV screen two-dimensionally and telling them how bad we are. Go ahead and couple up with them and show them how bad we are. Tell them firsthand after you get through draining their balls. Go on. Quickly. They're already trying. I know that. I want to see an explosion of this. It's September. We're actually now in the last week of September. Why did I say last day? Last days of September. But yeah, last week of September. So yeah, hurry up. By the time the first major blizzard hits anywhere in the United States, I want to see an uptick in this. By the time that the schools let out for the summer break, I want this to be a trend. I want to see you Western sisters prove that you can get these non-black men and then prove to them that we're just so bad. Go on. Hurry up. And don't just, stop traveling to do it. You don't have to travel. You're a woman. You don't need to do anything for it, right? So why do you have to get on the plane for it? No, get it right there where you are. Men are easy. We're dogs. We can't think about nothing past them drawers. Go on ahead. Use them drawers, since that's your control, to control all the outcomes and to convince these other men of what you want them to believe about us. Make it snappy. Quick, come on. Stop playing. Show them that you don't deserve less, but that you actually deserve more. Go ahead. Show Hector that you deserve more than Maria. Quickly. Show Brad that you deserve more than Becky. Show Mr. Chin that you deserve more than Miss Chin. What you waiting on? Do like Issa Rae said. Yeah. Very importantly, do like Issa Rae said. Don't go for the men from the Philippines. Don't go for the men from Malaysia or Indonesia or Brunei either. Or the Thai men or the Laotian men. Don't go for them, please. Listen, if you're from one of those countries, you don't deserve that kind of headache, okay? I'm doing y'all a favor. Wink, wink. Got you. I got you, blood. I got y'all. Y'all been good to me. I'm going to return the favor, because that's what brothers do. So yeah, hurry up and go after what Issa Rae said, or the real Asian men. Don't go after the N-words of the Asians. No, go for the Chinese and the Korean. Convince them, please. Please tell Mr. Park why you deserve more than Miss Park. Hurry up. Forgot to mention that, yeah. Hell, go for Mr. Nakamoto. Go on ahead. Try to convince Mr. Nakamoto that you deserve more than Mrs. Tanaka. I don't think they changed their names in their system. I'm not sure when she marries. Hurry up. Go ahead. Quickly. Try to convince that man from northern India that you deserve more than Mrs. Patel does. Quickly. Chop, chop. Get to it. Shouldn't be hard. Don't go for the Southern Indians or the Bengalis or the Sri Lankans. Don't go for them. No, because Issa Rae would call them the N-words of the Desis. Go try to tell that man from Pakistan. Hurry up. Quickly. Go to Iran and try to convince Mr. Fevzi that you deserve more than Miss Fevzi does. Go tell Babak that he has been missing out and show him that on which he has been missing. And convince him that you deserve more than Mrs. Farsi does. Quickly. What's stopping you? Go and tell Habib why you deserve more than Habiba. Come here and do it. Go on ahead. What you waiting on? Prove me wrong and don't waste time in doing it either. And do it in mass. You trendsetters, right? Set that trend. Hurry up. Stop going down to Jamaica and paying for the bamboo. Same bamboo that you say is cheap and worthless in the U.S., even though you'll pay for it in the U.S. too. No, stop doing that. Go somewhere where you're going to get paid for the sheath of the bamboo. Or get taken care of for it. Chop, chop. The hell you waiting on? To my audience members, thank you again for being patient. I really do appreciate that. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout. Black heterosexual, non-select male power just because they don't like it. Black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. And again, thank you for flying with us on Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. On your way out of the Jet Black aircraft, should you choose to hit the Cash App button, please enter in numbers that are convenient and easy for you only. Gender justice forever.